You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses in the episode for Friday, May 2nd, 2025. Nearly an entire month.
We are back. We are back. You're like, wow, did you guys cancel the podcast? You're like, well,
I mean,
no.
those discussions need to probably be had, but...
Well, we're both, like, this is, it's funny because in the past, like, we'd always have problems and we like, oh, let's record a 5-minute oopsie poopsie made an oopsie. But boy, we've both been having some, what's the line? I've seen shit that would turn you white.
And my shit has turned white, so I should probably see a doctor.
That's how bad it is. No, there's been a lot going on that, for both of us. So it's not that we're like trying to blow off a podcast. It's just that, like, in the world of all the things that are going on, the thing we do for no money that takes time that while we care about is only for the small group of fans. Like, that's the one that kind of gave first, and I feel bad, but
hi Kyron, hi Russ.
For a small group of listeners. I do like that both of us actually get approached like, hey, is everything all right? Like from separate listeners.
Life is getting a little too real. Honestly, it's both having both Andrew and I sort of reassess our priorities in a lot of ways.
And that's how you get genital problems.
Which brings us to our first ever sponsored.
This is where we get sponsored content.
Actually, speaking of which, like, getting older, getting just tired of dealing with stuff, I have become full on Mr. Rogers. So when I come home from work now, I change out of my work clothes into comfier clothes. And the cherry on top is that I change out of my work shoes into my inside shoes, my indoor slip-on Skechers.
So as one of my friends once said, I keep an Asian house. I don't wear shoes inside. But honestly, I will say the idea of like taking your work clothes off, maybe it's because I was in the Navy. I've always done that.
Yeah.
Because like the work clothes were always, in fact, I actually pushed it to the limit. I didn't even put work clothes on until I got to work. And then I took them off before I left work. So I still do that where like I literally get home and like switch into the t-shirt or the whatever, the loose fitting shorts,
Sure. Well, see, like that's the thing I'm in the midst of completing the final Long John book. And it's psychological. And like I cannot commit to doing work on top of actually doing a full day of work at school unless I feel like I'm dressed for success, for lack of a better word. Basically, I can't actually like sit down at my computer and do work if I'm just in my PJs, for lack of a better word. And so I've done this during the summers for the last 10 years, where it's like when I don't have school to teach, I still get up because I have a comic to make. I get up and I get showered and I get dressed and I shave and I put on outside clothes despite the fact that I don't step outside at all, because it gets me in a mindset to actually work. And I have found these we've also been doing a lot of renovation at the house, and so like it's not necessarily safe to walk around in all parts of the house
which makes sense
with naked feet. Months ago, we had acquired from a friend who bought some slip-on Skechers sneakers kind of shoes that didn't fit them. They're like, "Do you want them?" And they fit my feet. I'm like, "Sure," but I never wore them. But ever since we started doing these renovations, I'm like, "Hey, these are comfy." They don't step foot outside the house though.
Okay, so Dan, my entire shoe collection are Skechers slip-ons.
Oh, nice. This is new to me.
Yeah, I don't know what point in my life I did that, and there's a period in my life where I messed with Velcro to go like full
you
old
did.
man.
I remember that. You were very proud of that.
And actually, I think for athletic shoes, I'd go Velcro, but for just because these look kind of like nice shoes, but they're just a boop boop, and I go, yeah. I'm definitely
they're comfy and they breathe, and
I'm a Sketcher man.
I would say it's a step up from the Velcro. I'm proud of you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't wear Velcro to work. And
so I'm very comfortable in my, like, I literally get home, I take off my work shoes that are covered in school, and I slip on my literally a sweater and my Skechers, and I'm like, When did I become Mr. Rogers? Well, I haven't, because I'm not nearly as optimistic as he was. Not nearly as religious either. But we're not here to talk about one's religious devotion, dear listeners.
We are not.
No, we're here to just check in with our respective, probably, weeks in geek. If that's okay with you. We didn't discuss this.
We didn't discuss it. No, it's fine. Although mine's going to be, so many things have happened that I've forgotten about.
Oh, excellent.
So it's going to be a little bit of like things I remember that I wanted to mention. Things that were
it's like
exciting.
A news cruise, but for Andrew's Week in Geek.
But for Andrew's Week in Geek.
There we go.
So first of all, for those that don't know, the new Daredevil came out.
Yes.
And it actually completed its run. It's for season 1. Which my understanding is that they'd originally commissioned one long season. They had some kind of showrunner shifting. The new people came in. So like for those that have seen it, if some people have said it feels there's a bit disjointed in season 1, it's because they'd actually filmed some stuff intending to go do one thing, and then some new people came in and said, actually, we're not acknowledging enough of the original show, so we're going to add more of that in. I think it works. It works. But yeah, so they ended season 1, and I'm not going to go into detail about it. I think the two, Charlie Cox and Vince D'Onofrio, both still are doing these characters really well. I mean, honestly, Vince D'Onofrio is sitting on like that kind of pile of like peak Marvel characters to me. Like, I mean, he's a villain, right? But he does what he does so well, and every time, like, to me, he sells it, right?
He's committed to like the energy and the ideal of the role. Like he kind of like Chris Evans committed to Captain America, right? And I would say Brie Larson committed to Captain Marvel.
And arguably, Robert Downey Jr. Didn't have to commit to Tony Stark. He already was.
When you write around the actor.
But yeah, no, so I'd say about this is I want to say just kind of a quick shout out to Vince D'Onofrio, just doing it really good job. He's wearing a fat suit now, which I wouldn't be able to tell, but people are like, oh, he didn't put on 80 pounds to play the part. Like, that's fine. I'm not a big fan of that method acting where like, no, if I'm going to be a fat person, I have to gain 150 pounds. Like, that's unhealthy. Anyway, looking at you, Christian Bale.
Damn.
But I do want to I want to call it a scene in one of the later episodes that to me is like it speaks to kind of like the character of like how he's clever, he knows what he's doing, but there's still a menace to it.
Did the scene also star a character that was played by Wilson Bethel?
No. Okay. It's a scene. They're like a mayoral. So spoiler: he becomes mayor of New York. I don't think it's a big spoiler.
Yeah, no,
I think it's literally in the trailer. They're at like a ball, right? Him and his wife, and then also Matt Murdock and his girlfriend, basically. Who the context of why he's there is important, but I'm not going to talk about it. But the idea is that Fisk sees Murdock there, and Fisk knows who Murdock is. Right. This has been established. He knows. And there's kind of like this, he doesn't air out. First of all, because for most of the show, he stopped acting as Daredevil. Right.
Right.
But what I want to comment on is just that kind of sold it to like the way he plays a character is there's a bit where they kind of have Fisk and Matt Murdock's girlfriend dancing, and Matt Murdock or I think it's Matt Murdock and Fisk's wife dancing. And so there's a scene where it shows Fisk watching, and that kind of zooms in on him, and he's talking to Daredevil just under his breath. Murdock's out there doing his thing, but he's talking to him basically kind of like
like across the room kind of thing.
Yes, he knows he can hear him.
Yeah.
Right. And he's basically like, hey, devil, like whatever, like, you heard my thing, buddy. And that was the kind of thing where like it feels so like, wow, that's a guy who like he knows who this guy is. And he's not gonna publicize that. He's not J. Jonah Jameson, right?
Yeah.
It's that, but he still has the menace of like, I'm gonna like threaten you basically from across the room, knowing only you can hear me.
That's pretty good.
Which I really like that. The other thing I want to comment about the show is I was fascinated by. I know there's mixed reactions to this. In the final episode, John Barenthal does. He's in 2 episodes. Which I think is not spoilered, but in the final episode, he is confronted by a group of police officers wearing Punisher. They're basically doing copycat killings as Punisher. In the comics, as I understand, this was actually addressed like in the 90s, where he basically kills cops that do that. Because in his mind, like, you guys are the bad guy, which is really, given the current political climate, is fascinating since there are a lot of cops who apparently never read that issue
or any
issue. But actually, it's this. So they did that, but it was a much. I think why it's controversial is I think a lot of people said, why didn't he go harder? Because in this, it's it's like, hey, Punisher, man, we want you to join us. We're doing what you do. Mm-hmm. And it's John Barenthal doing his fucking damnedest. I mean, that guy like is pretty solid as if nothing else. He's a Frank Castle for all Frank Castles. It's just him like fucking bloodied and whatever, and basically like, you're all fucking clowns, man, right? And I kind of like, again, it is not as harsh as him killing cops that do that, but it is this idea of like, just that like these people doing bad things that want his affirmation and they want to be his bud. And he's basically like, you're fucking losers. And that was a moment I was like, oh wow, they did that. Again, not as harsh as they could have, but they did it. And that was actually really...
it's not surprising as so much that the character would call out cops, because he's done that in the comics as well.
Right.
It's more the fact that like, oh, Disney let them do that.
Right. That in this place where, whatever, that Disney let them basically do that, even though a third of the cops in the US have a Punisher sticker on their car. Right. We'll see. I don't know how that, and I say that as someone who was at an Easter dinner with someone who had a Punisher sticker on his water bottle, who worked not in law enforcement, but adjacent to it. Either way, that was an awkward Easter. So anyway, I just want to mention that because to me it was Daredevil. We're seeing where it's, they have another season at least. The show's definitely got a lot going on. Is it perfect? No Marvel show is, but I enjoyed it. It's definitely Disney going back to, Disney going to some of the things that Netflix had done. And like, it has some violence. It has gore. It is not as excessive. I mean, Netflix did some shit that was actually hard to watch.
Right. Well, you said like the first 5 minutes or whatever of this season is. Like...
Well, there's a very traumatic event in the first 10 minutes. I don't want to talk about.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry for bringing it up.
Yeah, it was. And anyone that's seen it, they know what I'm talking about. You're like, yeah, actually, that was a fucking downer. No, but there isn't anything nearly as like just. I remember there's episodes where it's just like either in Punisher, it was Punisher, or in Daredevil, it was Daredevil, like getting the fucking tar beaten out of him, bleeding out, like the place looks like a Saw set, right?
The hallway fight scene, like that's like, it always comes down to that, right?
Well, I'm thinking of another one from season 1 where it was even more like, it was visceral. It was like, you could see, they don't do nearly that in this, which is fine. I don't need that.
So I think the other fights, it's not even a fight. It's rude to call it a fight scene because it's not. It's from season 1 was, let's just call it the Kingpin and the car door.
Oh yeah, there's that kind of stuff. They don't go nearly that far, and that's good. I don't want that. But they still say that they definitely went farther than any Disney has ever done, right? So anyway, I'd say Daredevil, it's interesting to see, with Disney back in charge, that they're willing to do something that still feels on brand.
Right.
I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where they go. I'm glad to see like some of these characters, being brought back because they were like, the actors were great. They're playing these parts, loving it. So that's one of the quick things I want to talk about. I want to quickly pivot into. I want to talk about video games.
Impossible. You don't play video games.
I've been playing. I'm in this weird space where like I keep transitioning between video games because like something new catches my attention to the point where like I'm like, oh man, I'm not finishing games. Like I feel like my 20-year-old self. Yeah, because I was playing something. I'm like, oh shit, the new thing. I switched to that. Like, oh shit, another thing. Oh, a re-release of an old thing. But I'll take a minute to talk about a game that came out. It is a. I don't know what the publisher is actually. I should probably look this up. Oh, I should know.
Boy, wow. Forgot how to be professional on this.
It's an indie game. It's from a company
Call
called
of Duty.
Far From Home. Is the company. Yeah. The game is called Forever Skies. And it's been in early access since time immemorial, right? Right. Just released. I think it's actually just this company doing their own thing. It is basically, I actually got it in early access kind of by mistake because it was bundled with another game. So for all that have been listening, you know that I have a weird thing for like open world survival games. I've talked about Subnautica multiple times. I think I talked about Green Hell. Fallout 76 to a lesser extent.
Right.
No Man's Sky. there's something about these kind of, crafting, open world, survival, exploration games that I apparently find very compelling. And this was, I think, part of a bundle that came with that. Like, I think when I was playing Green Hell, it came up. And I bought it, didn't play it because of early access, or I played it a little bit, but it's now in like full release. So I've been playing it. It's funny because as I look at its Steam page, it's like all reviews, very positive. Recent reviews, mixed.
Oh, no.
So basically, it is Subnautica.
Yeah.
Except now it's, instead of underwater, you're in a, you're basically from space, you've returned to Earth. The Earth has been covered in like some sort of plague gas or something, such that you have to stay above the cloud line.
Sounds like my first apartment.
So you basically have this like weird Zeppelin shit or, airship. So you basically have like an airship where you're puttering around, and your airship is your craftable home as you drive it around. It's very boxy. I mean, I love how boxy it is. Like, wow, I'm driving a box with an airbag on top, and I'm not driving it well. But yeah, I've actually been, I played it a little bit. I put I don't know how far into it I am. I don't think I'm very far. I think it's an interesting game. I love the genre. It's a weird thing to play a game where like an indie group or a small team, I'm assuming, we're like, hey, we're going to make this game that's just like this other game we like, and playing it and like, oh, it's interesting. It's not perfect. But yeah, I like just this kind of, a way to take that exploration, survival, open world thing, except kind of turn it on a weird space where it's like, now your house is your airship, and then build your airship. You're like, okay. And you're like, oh, I built a big, there's a lot of, I have my airship has a big ass. Oh, well, now it's hard to drive around, stuff because it's got a lot of, back end.
We all put on a little pounds during COVID.
Right. Well, it's this funny thing of playing a game where and of course, like a lot of games like this, it has bugs, oh yeah, you're using Unreal Engine for the first time, it's fine. But yeah.
I mean, considering it went through the we call it the pre-release,
early access.
Early access. There we go.
And don't be wrong. I think they
it looks nice. The screenshots I'm looking at are quite nice. Actually,
it's all right. It's I think that to me, it's the kind of game where Subnautica, I think, had the same experience where it was in early access, it was released, but even then it got post-release updated several times, such that by the time I played it, it was much more polished. I think this is a game that probably, assuming it continues to sell, will hopefully get more polish, and maybe they'll do some extra content. But yeah, I like these ideas. I think there's an interesting game in all of these where exploring, and they have actually, I realized as I was playing it, there's certainly a pretty heavy overlap with a lot of these games, with Metroidvanias.
Oh, sure.
And I didn't really think about this until
can't get to the thing unless you build the thing. Yeah.
Right. There's this whole thing you can't do until, oh, wait, now you have the thing that lets you do the thing. Yeah. In Subnautica, a lot of it was well, you can't go that deep until you go to the place that lets you get the go deep thing. Oh, now you can go deep. Oh, now you have to build the other ship. Oh, you need the pieces for the ship, which are scattered in these locations that you couldn't get to without the go deep thing, And I realized that is actually part of a formula I really like of the Metroidvania, exploring a world where you keep gaining access to more parts of it, coupled with part of the survival. I'm not a hardcore survival, but I like the constant. Well, I mean, Green Hell was a bit much.
I mean, you also played the Fallout 4
in survival
drink
mode.
Water and shit. Yeah.
Well, what I like is how that part of that can sometimes motivate gameplay experiences I would have already had.
Sure.
That's, I think, what I like about them. With Fallout 4 in survival mode, there were things I saw in the game I never saw playing it normally. Right. Places I never would have gone to, except I went to because I was looking for water.
Right. 76 did a really good job of kind of elaborating on that idea.
I think they did better where you went to places not because there was a quest there, but because you're here's a place and I need fucking leather.
Right. For me, I always need springs. That's my problem. I can't get enough springs.
So I think that part of it, that kind of Metroidvania stuff, the survival stuff, and then also some amount of home crafting or base crafting. I do like where it's like, here's a place where you build your little thing. And like, there's something fun about like, oh, I built my cool thing that only I see. Because like Subnautica, I was building all these eccentric bases and stuff. And right. It's kind of like a fun gear shift is like, well, now that I have a minute to breathe in my little, house, hey, why don't I like add some tunnels and add a new room where I can charge my batteries or whatever,
Right. When it comes to not Far From Home, Forever Skies, do you feel it's more of just like a lateral iteration, or do you think there's something that, again, knowing it's still early in its lifespan, is it doing things that maybe hint at like, oh, it's maybe pushing this genre forward a little bit?
I think probably the biggest thing that you could say, like, having played these other ones, probably the thing it does differently than any of the others is much more leaning into your house moves around with you.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Subnautica, the closest they got was like, well, you have the big submarine, but like, that's not your house. That's just your big submarine. This is like literally the house you build. Like you're adding room space onto this
That's pretty cool.
The undercarriage of a dirigible to the point where like it becomes like you think about shit like, you need more bags, airbags.
So it actually, that's cool that it actually affects the maneuverability of it being a ship. Yeah.
Right. Well, the idea that like I went a little too far out of the sides and I'm like, I'm turning or I'm moving and I'm hitting something like, oh shit, that's the farming room I put on the left. I need to put that probably on the back instead. That's the kind of stuff that like wouldn't have thought of until I had to.
It's funny because like you think of things like No Man's Sky where you can technically kind of build your freighter out, but you don't actually fly your freighter, right? And
right.
So, but it's technically invulnerable.
Right. The interior of your freighter is in fact like its own pocket dimension.
Yeah, it's a TARDIS.
Whereas this is actually very much, if you add the room on the left, you now crash that room into something. So I think that's actually probably in the genre of this, or in this whole like genre of survival-esque world build, whatever, or world explore games. That is definitely the thing I think it's adding that is interesting, even though the way they do it is kind of chunky, with like, oh, look, because also, at least so far as I've played, like every room I can add is a square. I'm looking at screenshots where I see like, oh, actually, never mind. I realized what that is, and I think I know how to do it. I was like, I don't know how they have canted walls or whatever. Like, I don't know how that's. I was like, oh, and I finally looked at it. I'm like, I think I know how to do that. But again, it is a lot of boxes.
So you're flying the Cybertruck of the skies?
Yeah. And it also kind of explodes sometimes.
Raccoons are trying to break into the back of it because it looks like a dumpster?
Actually, yes, but they're not raccoons. But yes, in fact, weird junk monsters are in fact trying to break into the back of my truck.
There we go.
So yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting game experience, and I'm really, I enjoy that. I'm glad that I'm playing it. I did take a pause to the point where this is a very Andrew thing for anyone who's listened to our show. I will sometimes take a pause from these games, and then when I come back, they've made enough changes that I start over.
Oh, dude, that's been Andrew since fucking 7th grade.
So there's a non-zero chance that may become this, where like I take a pause for a bit, and when I come back, they added version 1 with new features. Oh, I'll just start over, which is fine. I've had a good life.
Getting your money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Because there is that, like, I enjoy the experience, and having played a little bit in early access and then played now, like it was a different experience. So it's not like I'm retreading. Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of like my weird two things I want to talk about week in geek. Dan, what about you?
I will talk about 2 things. One will be very brief because I'm not far in it, but I wanted to mention a TV show I've been watching. It's a TV show that's been long over, but I've heard so many good things about it that I decided to kind of check it out. And I think we're only 2, maybe 3 episodes in, but I'm super intrigued by the premise and the presentation of it. It's a science fiction show called The Expanse. We're watching it on Amazon Prime, but it's one of those shows that definitely bounced for a few years between different presentations, different networks and stuff like that. It's a cool, interesting science fiction show that is sort of like it's a far future Earth, so it's not like a space opera fantasy kind of thing.
It's more of a science fiction, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what I like about it is that it bounces between different, not just different characters, like let's just say like a Game of Thrones would, but definitely like different communities that are in this premise. They're living in this universe, for lack of a better word, that showcase what it's like to be within different levels of power in the construct that they've come up with here. Like, I haven't watched enough of it to have a firm grasp to explain the premise in its full detail here. But there's the Mars Earth Alliance. There's basically the people that live on the outer rim, and it's just really cool
Belters.
How they also
Belters?
The Belters, indeed, yeah, and how they've also kind of layered, sociopolitical commentary on all this. But it's really engaging, despite at times you could argue that the budget or lack thereof is showing, but it's never affected my enjoyment of the show at this point. The acting seems pretty good. The premise is super interesting. And what I've also really enjoyed so far, again, like 3 episodes in, is like there is obviously a larger narrative going on here, but they're doing so far a really good job of like crafting episodes where this episode is telling a singular story that is engaging and has a beginning, middle, and end. It isn't just chapter 2 of what will be a 10 or 12 part story. That kind of like, what we've talked about many times before with this, the balance between serialized TV and episodic TV, and how I think in my old age now, I think I'm yearning for a balance between the two, because I think I've swung to both extremes over the lifespan of the show, and now it's just like I would love to have. It kind of comes back to like maybe Buffy, right? Especially the first 5 seasons of Buffy. I would say like they did a really good job of like this episode is about this, and the early seasons of new Doctor Who did this as well, but we get that granular entry into the ongoing story or the ongoing mystery. And so far they're kind of it's playing that chord that's resonating quite well with me. So I'm enjoying The Expanse, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Have you seen it, or you just heard about it?
So actually I watched like the first episode. I think I remember trying to get, and I don't know what it was about it. Like if it was the timing, the whatever. I just remember being like, because I knew a lot of people that loved it. Like they talked highly of it. They're like, oh man,
yeah.
the Expanse. And I sat down and I watched like the first episode. And I don't know if I did something wrong. I mean, that
watched
sounds,
it wrong.
Well, that sounds weird, but like if
might have not been the right headspace for it,
right? Like that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying like, whoa, I didn't like watch it with the right glasses on, but like,
oh shit, these are my comedy glasses.
I just remember kind of walking away like, yeah, okay, I don't think I finished the episode. For some reason, I got distracted and stopped it or something. Yeah. So I actually have not seen it, but I hear people rave about it.
Yeah,
just rave about it.
I feel like it took 10 years for me to finally go, let's check this out.
Right. And at some point now, I'm like, well, I guess if Dan likes it, shit, Then again, but I also joke that I'm in the middle of watching The Walking Dead, which I know, like, it's just, like, wow, talk about stupid choices.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I do feel like I finally got to the point where I say this, it was a season ender where it felt like things ended well. And I say that like, wait till whatever the next season is, Andrew. But
right. So there's that. But the thing that's been occupying my time is a game I was waiting for. A video game I was waiting for.
Oblivion Remaster.
No, actually, no. I kind of finished Oblivion. I'm like, I think I'm done. All I want to play with it. Yeah. Skyrim. If I were to go back to an Elder Scrolls, it'd probably be Skyrim, because I found Oblivion fairly oppressive. That's a different conversation for a different day. Last time we talked, I was playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Finished that up. Wonderful, wonderful Metroidvania. And I was hesitant to start anything else because I knew. I guess the one thing I should say is that I'm playing a new game that's also an old game. In that, it's an entry in the great crossover of the 2020s. I'm playing a video game called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is a game made by Machinegames, published by Bethesda, which is owned by Microsoft. I do not own a gaming PC, nor do I own an Xbox. That's because as of a couple weeks ago now, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, once an Xbox or Microsoft exclusive, has been released on the PlayStation 5. Something that they've just started to do over the last 6 to 8 months or so. Microsoft putting its games on the Sony platforms
in an attempt to avoid antitrust lawsuits.
I mean, if anything, I'm just like, you don't put Bethesda behind a paywall. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can get so much money with a Bethesda game by putting it everywhere.
Oh, I know, but I suspect that this is really like, look, because that was actually in, I think, the lawsuit. They're like, Sony was like, oh, but Call of Duty's our main thing. Like, oh, don't worry, we won't take that away. So I think they're very active. Like, oh, look, all the games come to you eventually.
Right. Well, I also think this is probably a mandate because it's a licensed game.
Oh,
it's probably a decision made by Disney / Lucasfilm. I would love to play Starfield someday. Even though I hear it's bad, but I still want to play it.
Even though I hear it's bad,
but it sounds like the sci-fi game I want to play.
It does. I love train wrecks in space.
Yeah, but I heard a lot of good things about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It got a lot of attention because of Troy Baker's performance as Indiana Jones.
Oh yes, in fact, friend of the show Taylor talked about it repeatedly.
It's fine. Like. I think it's admirable and it does the job as much as a video game Indiana Jones needs to be. He doesn't need to convince me he's Harrison Ford. The likeness is there, and he's grumbly enough. And he, being a professional voice actor, probably does a better job
than Harrison
than
Ford
if they would have hired Harrison Ford. Yeah. Because he's like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, I don't give a shit.
Like, why is it every third line he says, "Where's my paycheck?"
Right. What attracted me to the game is, of course, there's the Indiana Jones of it, and but I was more intrigued by the fact that it was made by Machinegames, because they are the developer behind the modern Wolfenstein games. Which, okay, so I am not a first-person shooter guy. I tried playing 2016 Doom. I'm like, this is making me car sick. And I don't get car sick.
Right. No, that's like, no, sorry. I've had that experience as well, where it's like, I don't get car sick, but I suddenly get car sick.
I heard so many good things about the Machinegames Wolfenstein games that I think I picked it up on a severe discount. And I loved it because it wasn't as fast-paced as I was expecting, like I could hear about Call of Duties, and you hear about lag and latency and all this shit. And like, I just want to have a good time. And the Wolfenstein games are fantastic in as much as they are just bonkers in terms of story. And the gameplay was a nice mix of exploration and combat, which, even though it's not a direct correlation to Indiana Jones, you're like, okay, if they're to pick a studio to do this, I think I can see it. Now, it's not just the Machinegames Wolfenstein with an Indiana Jones skin on it, because combat is heavily discouraged. It's ostensibly, I would say, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a stealth game. But what I love about it is that it realizes it's Indiana Jones. And so it's story driven. You're given quests and sub-quests, and Troy Baker's doing his Harrison Ford thing, and it's hitting those notes, and it's very fun. But when you're actually in control, first person perspective kind of stuff, it feels kind of weird at the beginning, to be honest, because one, I'm not necessarily a first person player. It sets up an expectation of like, well, it's going to be a run and gun game, but it heavily discourages open combat,
right?
Because you have a gun, you're Indiana Jones, right? And there's those classic scenes, and it's clearly they took some design ideas from those scenes of when Indiana Jones uses his gun. It's usually as a joke or in desperation. And the thing is, I think I fired my gun twice, because each time I used it, I'm like, oh, that was the wrong choice. Because being a stealth game, you get a little bit of the Metal Gear Solid, like, what was that noise? And you see like question marks appear over villains' heads. Or what I love about it is like it takes place between Raiders and Last Crusade. So you're fighting the Nazis. But what I love is with the subtitles, it just, instead of just saying a Nazi, it just labels the speaker fascist, which is great. If you pop into their cone of vision. They get the little question mark, a little sort of brass or yellow question mark. And if you stay in their cone of vision too long, it turns red and then it turns into an exclamation point and they come after you. You try to hide or you can fight, that kind of stuff, right? The nice thing about it is like there's just stuff all around. You can pick up a shovel. You can pick up a broom. You can pick up a pickaxe. You can pick up a ladle. You can pick up a guitar. And then you creep up behind these guys. And it's a wonderful sort of visual cue. Like, like a first-person game, you're holding that, whatever you've picked up in front of you. But when you get to like a stealth kill kind of mode, it's when you get close enough and your hand, you see the hand rise up out of the screen. You're like, oh, it's time to do the business. And then you hit the button and it just does this sort of like quick time, not a quick time event, but like this animation of him sweeping the legs and then bashing this dude on the head. And then he has some quip. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great to incapacitate a Nazi with a hairbrush. What's funny is that I got into some dire straits at some point. I'm like, well, I have a gun. Let's just do this. And then it's so funny because I'm like, oh, I see what they've done here. I pull out my gun and I aim directly at the dude's head and I pull the trigger. It knocks his helmet off. But do you know what I see, Andrew? 15 red exclamation points just fill the periphery of my screen. I'm like, uh-oh. And it was just a bad time for me at that point.
Well, so I'm like, I want to take this minute to just reference back, and I apologize for interrupting, but
no, please.
The old Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the adventure game from 1989 by LucasArts, where it was basically like a Scum style adventure game.
They did a couple, didn't they?
Yeah, but this was the one where it was based on the movie. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that you would get an IQ, an indie quotient. It was kind of like points. But the idea was if you did what he did in the movie, that wasn't actually the best way to get the points.
Interesting.
Necessarily. Like the idea that like sometimes maybe indie actually made a bad choice. And I felt like, yeah, there's certain parts of the movie where actually that was not the best choice there, Indiana.
That's cool.
And for some reason, you made me think of that. Like, I shot a guy and like, boop, 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 boop. Like, well, Indiana, that was in fact the wrong choice.
Yeah, how long ago was my save? The game actually, I would say, is mostly built on puzzle solving. Puzzle rooms, basically. And they're not hard, but they're fun enough. And so far, I'm in the second area. The first area is Vatican City. And it's big. It's super big. And you can bounce between your Indiana Jones adventurer costume and like a priest outfit. And that grants you access to different areas just because people won't notice you. Unless you actually start bumping up against Nazis. And they're like, you don't look like an Italian or something like that, right? And now I'm in Giza and kind of exploring that area. So it's still fairly new and to me. I'm still fairly early in the game. But I'm just impressed with how large these areas are and how much they encourage exploration. Leaning into, again, one of the things the Wolfenstein games did that Machinegames made was have a really nice balance between Wolfenstein combat and exploration. And here they've tilted that scale a bit much more in the realm of exploration, but it holds up, and they're doing a very engaging job of that. Where the puzzles can be challenging, especially if you're in a new area, like, oh, they want me to get this thing that's way over there across the map. Oh boy, there's a lot of Nazis in the way. We can figure this out. We can figure it out. But I always feel very like accomplished when I'm like, okay, I got this thing. Let's do this. I know how to solve this puzzle now. It's pretty good. There's whip mechanics, of course, and you can upgrade skills to make your whip even more awesome. But I'm too scared to use whip because there's still a part of me, because of my experience shooting the gun the one time. I'm like, well, if that made noise, my whip is probably just as bad. I think it might be more forgiving with the whip, but I'm still too scared to use it. But the best part is, and I will say this, not the best part, one of the best parts is like when you do engage in combat, it's often melee combat, which first-person melee is not always the best, but they just mapped your left and right fist to the two triggers. And guess what, Andrew? They have the classic Indiana Jones sound, and it feels great to punch a Nazi in the face, and it sounds great.
I think I've been punched once, and it did not make that Indiana Jones sound.
Well,
and in retrospect, I'm disappointed, even though I was the one being punched. I guess I wasn't a Nazi enough.
Well, there's that. Next time, try harder, Andrew. In this day and age, it shouldn't be too tough. So I'm enjoying it. That's what's been occupying my time, keeping or distracting my attention from finishing the last Long John book ever and the tumult of my day job. So yeah, Indiana Jones, punching Nazis. Guess what? Still a good time.
Sorry, I suddenly my brain's wrapped around the distinctive Indiana Jones punch sound.
They have it. It's great.
Well, they probably just found like the Foley guy at Lucasfilm. Like, hey, we just have that sound.
I haven't heard the Wilhelm scream yet. So if you, dear listeners, have any thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page of this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with robots on our Facebook page.
You can find us on other social media as well, specifically the places that Andrew and I frequent, which means you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp. Did I remember that correctly?
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram at dbethelcomics. You can also find me on Bluesky at dbethelcomics.
While you're at our website at forallintents.net, you can just take a look at our YouTube page, which you can find by clicking on the link in the corner that says YouTube. There you'll find our show simulcast in YouTube. If you do listen to the show there, please like and subscribe and ring that bell.
We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusi, the other is called District 4, both written and performed by Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire.
You can find his music and more at incompetech.filmmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 Attribution License.
If you like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some sort of review. Whether a text review or using their proprietary metric will help spread the word to new potential listeners through the magic of algorithms. I don't want to end on a bummer, especially since we've been gone so long. But I feel like it's our duty, Andrew.
Duty!
To reference the loss of a important and dear artist to us. Jean Marsh.
Oh, wow. That was a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, but it's been a couple weeks.
Right. You're going to say one thing, and I'm going to say another thing. And
Indeed.
We're going to miss anything anyone cares about. So, Jean Marsh she was in Doctor Who twice.
3 times, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
I know the 2. Sarah Kingdom, which was apart from like the Tenet, not the Tenet.
An ostensible companion, right? For that one story.
For one story that lasted all season. That was during the Patrick Troughton era, I believe. Or was it the Hartnell? I don't know. I think it's actually not available, so who knows?
It's Troughton.
Is it Troughton?
Oh, that's a good question.
But anyway, and also she later was in Battlefield, which was 1989 with Sylvester McCoy. But also she's also interesting because she's also technically the Doctor's wife.
Mrs. the Doctor, yeah.
Right, she was married to Jon Pertwee for a bit. I think before he was on Doctor Who. But yeah, so she did that. She's done plenty of other stuff. And she was in fact in Willow as
Queen Bavmorda. Yes.
Which that's around the same era actually as Battlefield, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's true.
A couple of years later, I think. Battlefield
was 88.
Battlefield was I guess was it 88 and 80 like 88 89?
Yeah,
so that was actually like right next to each other.
Yeah. Just to clear, she was also she played the sister of Richard Lionheart in the Doctor Who serial The Crusade.
Oh, okay.
So three times there, but a great screen presence. I would say, even especially in their later years. Later years back in the late '80s.
I just really wonderful actress.
Yeah.
But also I like the idea that also she played the most important role of the Doctor's wife.
No,
only because they made such a fuss of that in the Matt Smith era. They're like, the Doctor's wife, and actually, there are multiple Doctor's wives, and they're all in Doctor Who. She's in fact one of 3 or 4. Oh my gosh! Actually, that could be a really weird game of how many Doctor's wives are actually in Doctor Who, because I think there's at least 2: Jean Marsh, Georgia Moffat.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a game that's a weird Doctor Who game for another time. So
yeah, hold on. Yeah, that's exciting. Oh, sorry. But we got to end this fucking show. So Jean Marsh, rest in peace. You're rad. Thank you for everything. You will be missed. And the Pope died.
Which...
Who was obviously in Doctor Who. No.
who was in Doctor... Actually, the Pope was in Doctor Who, but it wasn't Francis, Pope Francis.
No.
That would have been a really weird guest star. Like, one episode with the Pope, right? Like, actually, we got Pope Francis to roll.
I love it. Pope Francis is like, so what else do you want to do? You've solved world hunger. You've united the. He's like, I just want to be on Doctor Who.
I just want to be on Doctor Who. You find out that in Argentina, he grew up watching Doctor Who. Do
you want to be the Pope? No. I want to be an alien.
I want to be a guy in a costume.
Put a fin on my head. That's what I want to be. I want to be an alien. Oh, that'd be so funny. Still have a big old cross hanging down from his neck. So until your religious leader is on Doctor Who, dear listeners, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
Clap.
Yeah. Give it to me, baby.
I stand up for these, don't I? After one. But you know what we're here to do?
Talk about butt sex.
Yep.
Wait, what?
You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky nerdy news and discussion. And it's. Oh, Jesus Christ. Everything's fine.
Check, please.
You can't take me anywhere.
Doing it my way.
Wait. What's up? What's that theme song?
I don't know.
Doing it our way.
Oh, wait. That might be Laverne and Shirley?
Oh, I think you might be right. Doing it our way. Okay, hold on. This is important. No, Schmazel.
Haas and Frost Incorporated.
Yeah, doing it. Yeah. Okay, you're right. Look at us. Theme song detectives here.